So, in my experience, the number one question guys ask is, what do I say to her? The answer is, it honestly doesn't matter. But that's something that guys with a lot of experience say. And even though for them it's true, for less experienced guys, it's a pretty frustrating answer. If you watched the last couple of videos in this series, you'll know that I consider it more important to be courageous, confident, authentic, vulnerable, and charming. For me, the most important thing is to approach a lot of women that you're attracted to, and eventually you'll get good at it. You'll make mistakes along the way, you'll have to deal with a lot of rejection, but you're also going to build up courage and confidence, learn to be more comfortable and relaxed, and develop a natural charm and sense of humor. You'll get better at reading women and identifying women who are your type. You'll get better at building a rapport and creating a connection with someone you just met. As you become more successful at meeting women, you're obviously going to get better at escalating things physically. And the more you have sex, the better you're going to be in bed. I can give a certain amount of advice, but there's no way to avoid the learning process. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to make mistakes and develop an intuitive sense of what works for you and what doesn't. If I tell you exactly what I say when I first approach a woman, it may not work for you because you're not me. For me, it'll come across as natural and authentic because that's just who I am and how I talk. But for you, it could come across as phony or pre-rehearsed. But I also know that the number one thing that prevents most guys from talking to girls that they're attracted to is that they don't know what to say to them. If you're a guy, you see a girl you're really attracted to, and you really want to go talk to her, but what stops you? You don't know what to say, right? Okay, I understand. I've been there myself. But you're making it harder than it has to be. Why do you want to talk to her? You might answer, because she's really hot. Okay, cool. But why do you really want to talk to her? What do you want to happen? What do you want to get out of it? Maybe you would say, I don't know, I guess I just want to see what she's like and see if we connect. Perfect. Now we're getting somewhere. Just go tell her that. Just go say, hey, I just saw you and thought you looked really hot. I wanted to come say hi and see what you're like and see if you're someone I could connect with. I'm so-and-so. What's your name? At that point, she's probably going to tell you her name. Maybe she'll say, oh, thanks, but I have a boyfriend. It's probably going to be one of those two things, though. So I'll talk about where to go from there. But first, let me make a couple of comments about how I approach and what I say. Personally, I probably wouldn't say, hey, you look hot. Usually, I'll probably just say I think she looks nice. I think I like that more because it's a little bit ambiguous. Am I saying she looks nice in the sense that she physically looks nice? Or am I saying she looks nice in the sense that she seems like a nice person? So it isn't clear if I'm complimenting her looks or her personality. In a way, I'm complimenting both. And I usually mean it both ways, because when I approach a woman, it's usually because I think she looks really nice, and because I get the vibe from her that she seems like she's probably a nice person. Also, that just kind of feels less sexual and aggressive to me, and that fits my style. But I'll say whatever I really think. If I think she looks stunning or gorgeous or cute, I'll say that, whatever I'm feeling at the moment. Just be natural and honest. As long as you don't say, damn, you got a big old booty, or something completely stupid like that, you're probably fine. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with telling a woman you think she's hot, but there's a difference between saying, I'm trying to make myself say it creepy. You look hot. I don't know, like some creepy kind of way of saying it versus, wow, you look hot. Just kind of normal. There's a way of saying it that's creepy, a way of saying it that's not as creepy. It's just not what I normally say. I would normally rather say, oh, you look nice, or I thought you looked really cute. I wanted to come talk to you, something more along those lines. But But yeah, you just don't want to come across as, too strong or crass or too sexual or crude or whatever. But when I was younger, I met a girl at a rock concert, and the first thing I said to her was, "You are so fucking gorgeous. I just had to come talk to you. What's your name?" or something like that. But I think I opened with, like, "You are so fucking gorgeous." It's not a great line, but I was younger then. I was a little high at the time, and I was just being real. She was the hottest girl I had seen that whole day. And there was no way in hell I could even try to resist going over and talking to her. I think I might have literally died if I didn't at least give it a shot. I definitely wouldn't have ever seen her again and gotten another chance. I wouldn't say there was anything smooth about my approach, but it took courage. I really didn't think she would be attracted to me. I don't know if I necessarily felt confident, but I at least acted with confidence by approaching her, and I was real and vulnerable, and she responded to that. She went home with me that night. But don't worry, I have plenty of rejection stories to tell too, but think about how good that feels. To go to an all-day rock concert, and you see lots of really hot girls, obviously, but towards the end of the night, there's this one that just makes your fucking heart stop. And you're absolutely petrified of going to talk to her. And you're almost positive that she's not going to want to talk to you. But you do anyway, and she actually likes you, and you actually get with her. I'll be honest, it didn't lead to anything long term, and I was really sad that it didn't. I really liked her. It hurt like hell when she decided she didn't want to be with me anymore. But damn, it was good while it lasted. A lot of relationships are like that. But in the end, you've got to decide if it's better to have loved and lost or to never have loved at all. I still haven't found the one or whatever. And maybe I never will. Maybe there's no one out there for me. That's possible. And if so, I've come to a place where I can accept that and be at peace with it and be happy alone. But the way I see it, you never know. The next girl you approach could be the one. Or maybe the last girl you didn't approach was the one, and now you'll never know. Personally, I'd rather get rejected than wonder. At least then I know. I'll be honest, I've slept with a lot of girls. But it isn't because I wanted to sleep with a lot of girls. It's because I've always hoped that the girl I was talking to at the moment might be the one. But I guess I haven't found her yet. In some cases, that's because she didn't turn out to be the woman I was looking for, and in other cases it was because I didn't turn out to be the man she was looking for. That's just life. And I don't know that I'm the best person to give relationship advice, but I know that every relationship begins with that initial approach. And that's something I can help with. So again, basically just ask yourself why you want to go talk to her, and then go tell her that. Don't make it more complicated than that. I'll give a couple more examples just to get the point across and make it as clear as possible. For me, what usually happens is I see a girl, I think she's really cute, and I want to go talk to her. So I say, "Hey, I just saw you and thought you were really cute, and I wanted to come talk to you." Do you see how easy that is? That's not a great line or anything, so don't bother trying to memorize it. Just say something kind of like it that feels natural to you and that expresses your intention and what you want to say and why you want to go talk to her in the first place. Just get her attention. Maybe that means saying hi or hey or tapping her on the shoulder, or literally stepping in front of her and holding out your hand like you're stopping traffic. I've done that too when necessary. But get her attention and then basically let her know that she caught your attention, or you saw her and thought she looked really nice or cute or absolutely fucking gorgeous, or whatever you honestly think, and whatever feels most authentic to you. Tell her that you wanted to introduce yourself, or come talk to her, or see what she's like, or find out if she's single, or whatever. Just don't tell her that you think she has a nice set of titties and you wanted to see if she's down to fuck. That probably isn't going to go over very well. But within reason, you can say pretty much whatever you want to say that's kind of similar to the examples I gave, and it'll probably work just fine. When I say it's going to work, I just mean that it's going to get her attention, it's going to get you into a conversation with her, and it's probably going to make a good first impression on her and show her that you're a real man who's confident and genuine, and who probably is used to dating beautiful women like her. But you can't just say that and then freeze or expect her to take over from there. I'm a guy, so obviously I know how guys think. To guys, it seems like if I give you a compliment, you should give me a compliment back. So this is how this kind of situation would play out in a world that operates according to guy logic. The guy would approach the woman and say something like, "Hey, I just saw you walk by and I thought you looked really nice, so I wanted to say hi and introduce myself and ask you if you're single." At this point, the woman would smile and say, "Well, thank you. I think you look really nice too. Yes, I am single. We should go out sometime. Here's my number. Call me maybe." I'm not going to say that that's never going to happen, but it's never really happened to me. The most common response is going to be, "Sorry, I have a boyfriend." Almost any response other than that means she's attracted to you. But she isn't usually going to say so. She's going to wait for you to say something else. Again, the feminine principle is passive and receptive. The male principle is active and generative, so don't expect a 50-50 interaction. Plus, just like you don't really know what to say to a cute girl you see, she doesn't really know what to say to a cute guy who just approached her out of nowhere. At least you had a few seconds to prepare yourself between the time you saw her and the time you walked up to her. And by the way, as a general rule, I suggest you don't hesitate. When you see a girl you want to go talk to her. There are some common sense exceptions, of course, and maybe I'll talk about that later, but the point is, you at least know you're about to approach her. But she has no idea she's about to be approached. She's caught completely by surprise and off guard. There are some exceptions to this, but it's the general rule. It isn't like in the movies where you make eye contact across the room and she smiles at you, virtually sending you an invitation to come talk to her. Yes, that does happen every now and then, but it's actually pretty rare in my experience. Women are usually not trying to make eye contact with you. If they are, then they're definitely attracted to you, and you should go talk to them right away. If you don't, you're going to seem like you're not attracted to them, or like you're just not confident. I've also had women approach me, but again, this is fairly rare. Usually you're going to have to approach the woman, and she's not going to give you any kind of eye contact or approach invitation beforehand. If you're waiting for eye contact before you approach, you're doing it wrong. And you're never going to meet any women. She's not a guy. At least you hope she's not. This isn't going to be a 50-50 interaction like you expect from other guys. If we're at a bar and I offer to buy you a round, you understand that you should offer to pay for the next round. But a woman will just accept free drinks all night. If I run into you at the gym and say, "Hey dude, your arms are looking pretty solid," or whatever, You'll feel the need to return the compliment and say, "Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I've been taking this new creatine supplement. You look like you've been hitting your chest pretty hard," or something like that. Of course, assuming that we're both straight gym bros, this is completely non-sexual, but it's completely normal. If you give me a compliment, I feel like I have to give you a compliment. Otherwise, I'm kind of a dick. But when you give a girl a compliment, she doesn't understand that now it's her turn to give you a compliment. She may not even say thanks. She's just going to look at you and wait to see what you're going to say next. There have been a few times when I was just in a playful mood, and I kind of played off of this because I know this is what's going to happen. So I approach her and tell her she looks nice or whatever, and then just kind of look at her for a second like I'm waiting for a response. And then I say, "So now it's your turn to give me a compliment." And depending on how you deliver that kind of line, it can come across as charming and convey a sense of humor. But even then, she probably isn't actually going to return your compliment. She's still just going to look at you and wait to see what you say next. So unless you have something to say after that, there's just going to be an awkward silence. I've gotten where I like to save the jokes and playful stuff for later in the interaction, though. I kind of feel like it takes away from the power of the direct, natural approach. So usually after I get her attention and say the first thing I'm going to say to her, something along the lines of what I described earlier, I usually just ask her name. Sometimes I tell her my name first, but sometimes I prefer not to see if she'll ask. If she does ask your name, that's usually a sign that she's interested. If she isn't, she really doesn't care what your name is. She'll probably just tell you she has a boyfriend. And if she has a boyfriend, or if she doesn't like you, she's going to tell you she has a boyfriend whether you ask or not. So I usually don't ask her if she has a boyfriend. Sometimes I'll ask her if she's single. Personally, I prefer asking her, "Are you single?" instead of, "Do you have a boyfriend?" I'm not sure why it feels different. Maybe I've asked both a lot of times, and one question tends to get a better result than the other. So I've just been subconsciously conditioned to feel better about asking one more than the other. I'm not sure. But now that I think about it, I think that for some reason, when I ask girls if they're single, a lot of them say yes. But when I ask them if they have a boyfriend, a lot of them say yes to that too. Maybe it's just easier to say yes than no, I'm not sure. Or maybe since girls say, "I have a boyfriend," as an autopilot response to reject guys, you accidentally trigger that autopilot response when you ask them if they have a boyfriend. But when you ask them if they're single, it's like it short-circuits their brain and they just tell you the truth before they have time to think about it. I honestly don't know. Women are crazy. I just know I prefer asking them if they're single, as opposed to asking them if they have a boyfriend. But again, there's really no need to ask, because if they have a boyfriend, or if they're just not into you, they're going to tell you they have a boyfriend without you having to ask. I guess the only reason I like asking her if she's single is that it's an indirect way of asking, "Are you interested?" If she tells you she's single, she's basically telling you she's interested. Not always, but it's a pretty good sign. Just like if she tells you she has a boyfriend, it doesn't always necessarily mean she's not interested, but it's a pretty good sign she's not. Usually, if she tells you she has a boyfriend, you should just say, "Okay, well, it was nice meeting you, have a good day," and leave. It's not a big deal. If you approach women the way I do, that's what rejection looks like. She's not going to call security. She's not going to scream or slap you or throw her drink in your face. If she's a total bitch, maybe she'll give you a dirty look or something, but that's pretty rare in my experience. Most girls are going to be flattered that you approach them. It's going to make them feel good. And it's going to make you feel good knowing that you made them feel good about themselves. Plus, you're going to feel good about yourself for having the courage and confidence to approach them. So honestly, there's no reason at all to be afraid of rejection if you approach women right. So now you've got your approach and what you're going to say to her to start the conversation. From there, you're going to ask her name and maybe ask if she's single. From there, it just depends. Sometimes it's a situation where you're kind of rushed. In that case, I think it's fine to just say something like, "Well, you seem really cool. I'd like to talk to you later if that's all right with you. Can I text you?" No, I'm old school. I prefer calling a woman to texting her. But texting seems like less of a big deal somehow. I feel like if she's on the fence, she's slightly more likely to give you her number if you ask her if you can text her than if you ask if you can call her. But it's not that big of a deal, really. Also, in the beginning, very short interactions like that will probably be easier for you. Basically, you just get up the nerve to go talk to her, tell her you think she looks nice and you'd like to get to know her, ask her if you can text her later, and then you tell her it was nice meeting her and tell her you'll text her later. Or she tells you she has a boyfriend and you say, "Oh, okay, well, it was nice meeting you anyway. Have a good day." Either way, it's a pretty quick and painless interaction. And at first, you're going to be nervous about approaching women, so that's a good thing. You're not going to feel like approaching. You're going to have to force yourself to. And once you do, you're probably going to feel like running away. Just keep in mind, she probably feels this way too. Just like you're nervous about approaching her, she's nervous about being approached. Just like you feel like running away, so does she. That doesn't mean she isn't attracted to you, any more than it means that you aren't attracted to her. But again, the feminine responds to the masculine. The more nervous you are, the more uncomfortable she'll feel. And the more relaxed you are, the more comfortable she'll feel. The more approaches you do, the more confident and relaxed you'll become. And the more comfortable women will feel around you. The more comfortable they feel, the more they'll open up to you. And the more they'll feel that sense of instant connection with you. When you get to the point where you feel the same way approaching a beautiful woman as you do approaching someone you've known forever, you'll notice that women start responding to you as if they've known you forever. There was another time when I was at a bookstore and I saw a really pretty girl walking towards me. And by the way, I have met a lot of girls at bookstores. That isn't because I go to bookstores to meet women. It isn't even because bookstores are a particularly great place to meet women, especially now that there are almost no bookstores. It's just that I like to read and I buy a lot of books. But anyway, this girl was walking my way. She wasn't approaching me, she was just walking my way. We made eye contact, and I smiled just like I would smile if she was my girlfriend and she was coming over to talk to me. When she got a little closer, I just told her she looked gorgeous, just like I would say it to my girlfriend. It felt exactly like she was my girlfriend, and she had come to the bookstore to meet me for coffee before we went out for dinner or something. And I think anyone around us would just assume she was my girlfriend. No one would think that I was hitting on a girl I didn't know. I could tell she was instantly attracted to me, but also a little shy. Again, that's normal. She just kind of came over to the bookshelf and started looking at books, and I kept talking to her, just making small talk, and it actually went really well, like it would have gone if she was my girlfriend and was there to meet up with me. We sat down and had coffee, talked for an hour or so, and then went back to her place and watched a movie. And we kept seeing each other for quite a while, so I got to know her pretty well over time. And honestly, she's not the sort of girl who would normally invite a guy back to her place within a couple of hours of meeting him. But I didn't feel like some guy she had just met. I felt like a guy she had known for a long time. I made her feel comfortable with me because I felt so comfortable with her. The feminine responds to the masculine. It's all about approaching a lot of women, having a lot of interactions with women, and building your courage and confidence so that you can relax and feel comfortable being yourself and allowing your natural charm and sense of humor to come out. The simple structure and opening lines that I've given are just training wheels. So far, I've basically described more of a short, rushed interaction. Sometimes that's all you have time for. Maybe you're just passing each other on the sidewalk or something, and obviously she's going somewhere, and you probably are too, so you may not really have the time to get to know her right then. But you can introduce yourself, make an attractive first impression, and then text her later. But other times, there's no rush. In that case, there's no need to try to get her number right away. She's going to feel more comfortable giving you her number if you spend a few minutes getting to know each other before you ask for it anyway. So it's not that complicated. Just talk to her like you would talk to anyone else. Ask her what she's up to, what she does, where she's from originally, and frankly, boring stuff like that. If I've talked to her for a few minutes, and it seems like it's going well, I'll usually try to move her. That's why in the example where I met the girls at the bookstore, I invited them to sit down with me for coffee at the little bookstore coffee shop. For one thing, that makes it feel like you're together. You went over to the coffee shop together and sat down at a table together. It's sort of like you're on a date now. If you're at the mall and you meet her in Macy's or something, she's just there shopping for shoes, and you came up and started talking to her. But if you invite her to go to the food court with you to get some frozen yogurt or whatever, now you're together and it feels like a date. And then from there, it's natural to do something else, like maybe see if she wants to watch a movie. Or it could just be going to a different store with you because there's something there you wanted to check out. After all, you did actually go to the mall to shop for something, right? You're not some creepy guy who just goes to the mall to pick up chicks, are you? You could also just walk around the mall together. But there's a right and a wrong way to do that. Walking around the mall with a girl you just met is fine. Following her around the mall is not. In the first case, you're inviting her to the food court with you, or seeing if she wants to walk with you to that other store to check out that really cool thing. In this case, you're walking around the mall together. Or ideally, it should seem more like she's kind of following you around. In the second case, you're just following her wherever she goes and she's wondering why you're still following her. If she's walking when you approach her, you need to stop her. Don't just start walking next to her. If you do that, you're following her. If you stop her and then get her to walk somewhere else with you, that's completely different. If you approach a girl when she's walking, then obviously you're going to have to follow her and catch up to her in order to approach her. And that's fine as long as you do it right. But when you catch up to her, you need to get her to stop. Otherwise, you're following her now. Also, don't grab her by the arm or anything like that. There's an art to stopping a woman who's walking, especially if you're approaching them from behind. And it's not easy to explain without actually showing you. If you do it right, it's really easy. But if you do it wrong, you can freak her out. But honestly, if you approach with the right energy, you can get away with things that would normally seem weird. Like one time, it was nighttime, and this girl was walking out of the store when I saw her. I didn't catch up to her before she walked out of the store, so the only way I could approach her was to catch up to her in the parking lot. And obviously, if a girl is walking to her car alone in a parking lot at night, and some guy she doesn't know runs up on her from behind, that can be a little bit uncomfortable. But it was either that or not talk to her. And please don't try this at home. I'm just telling you what I did and how even a very difficult approach can still work. I didn't want to come up right behind her. So I stopped at kind of a non-threatening distance and just said, hey. Normally, if you just say, hey, a girl probably won't turn around because she doesn't know you're talking to her. She's not ignoring you, she just doesn't know you're talking to her. But if she's walking to her car in the parking lot at night alone and she hears a guy say, hey, she will turn around. Again, don't try this at home. The only reason this worked for me is I looked nice, I had really relaxed body language, I had confident eye contact and a very genuine smile. If I had been nervous or awkward at all, it would have been creepy as hell. I also showed some situational awareness and emotional intelligence. As soon as she turned around, yes, she did look a little bit scared, but she relaxed pretty quickly because she sensed that I wasn't a threat. I said something like, hey, I'm really sorry I startled you. I know it's kind of weird to have someone just approach you in a parking lot like that, but I just have to ask you something real quick. Do you mind? She said she didn't mind, so I continued with something like, well, I just saw you walk by and I thought you looked really nice and I wanted to ask you if you're single. She said she was single and she seemed like she was comfortable talking to me. Her body language was very open. She was smiling at me. And not the kind of nervous smile you'll get sometimes when you're making a girl uncomfortable, but a warm, genuine smile. Like, it made her feel really good that I came over to flirt with her. But I didn't want to prolong the interaction, since we were standing in a parking lot, and she probably needed to get home before the ice cream melted or whatever. So I basically just said, well, I know you're in a hurry to get home, so I don't mean to take up any of your time, but you seem really cool, so I was thinking maybe we could get coffee sometime. She said okay, so we exchanged numbers and I left. Again, I don't recommend approaching girls in parking lots, especially at night. I'm not saying that you should hang out at parking lots at night to try to meet girls who are walking to their cars. It's a terrible place to meet girls. But that isn't the only time I've met a girl in a parking lot at night. Another time, I was pulling into a parking space, and at the same time, a really cute girl was just getting out of her car in the space next to me. As I got out of my car, I just said, you look nice. And it's not what you say, but how you say it. I didn't say, you look nice, or something creepy like that. I just said, you look nice. Almost like you would say it to a coworker who's wearing a new suit. And I was actually wearing a nicely tailored suit on this particular occasion. And it probably didn't hurt much that I was driving a Jaguar at the time. Remember how I said that girls normally won't give you a compliment back? This was one of the few exceptions. She kind of looked me up and down and said, you look nice, or kind of like that. Needless to say, I did get her number, but I think the main lesson there is presentation matters. If you look sharp, people respond to you differently. Always look sharp. But the suit doesn't make the man. I've done just as well wearing cargo shorts and a cut-off t-shirt and driving a used Toyota Corolla, just in case anyone thinks the Jaguar had anything to do with it. To tell the truth, if anything, while I was driving that car, I usually didn't want a girl to see it, at least not at first, because I thought it might come off like I was trying to impress her with my car, and that would make me look insecure and unattractive. Actually, one of the other times I met a girl in a parking lot at night, I was also wearing a nice suit, but I wasn't in my car. I was walking to my car. She was driving past me in the parking lot, and I just kind of gave her a head nod and gestured for her to stop and roll her window down. She did, and I said pretty much the same kind of thing I always say. I said I thought she looked nice and I wanted to ask her if she was single. Nothing fancy. But I had left my phone in my car. And I don't remember if she didn't have her phone on her or what, but I remember I had to go to my car to get my phone. So she saw my car. And my car was actually in the shop. So I was driving a loaner car from the dealership, which was a newer model Jaguar. And I could tell she kind of seemed more attracted to me after she saw the car. And that actually honestly turned me off a little bit. But I just want to point out that she was already attracted to me before she saw the car. The only reason I even went to my car was to get my phone so she could give me her number. And I did just as well when I was in my old Corolla. Some girls are impressed by nice cars and suits. But if your approach is nervous and awkward, and you come across as inauthentic, the suit and the car aren't going to get the girl's number for you. And if you approach with courage, confidence, and authenticity, you could be wearing jeans and a t-shirt and riding around in an Uber. Seriously. So I've outlined my basic standard approach and given some examples of how it can work, even in some pretty difficult situations. I think I'll end there for now, but if you want to hear some more about this topic before I return to some of the other topics that I usually talk about, hit the thumbs up button, and maybe next time I'll talk about some different kinds of situations where maybe an indirect approach might be better, and some of the indirect approaches that I've had success with. And if there's something specific you'd like me to talk about, let me know in the comments. Peace.